You know, I'm so glad you brought this up because I was already going to do something about this a long time ago. So if you're caught up in a manga or about to read in the manga, I ain't even going to say nothing. I'm not even going to say nothing. But y'all Sanji haters, Zoro fans, so bad, Mihawk writers, y'all want... I'm going to explain why Sanji's going to get Conqueror's Haki in the manga and then the anime. Because I've been cooking this, but I didn't feel like dealing with y'all mouth. But I'm about to cook y'all. First off, we already know the precedent that was set by Roger that Luffy has been following the footsteps as, whereas Goldie Roger was the Pirate King as Luffy will one day be. His wings, both Dark King Silver's Rayleigh and Scopper Gaban, had Conqueror's Haki similar to Zoro and... Who's Luffy's other wing? Oh, okay. But nah, see, I think a lot of y'all misunderstand the qualities of a conqueror because a lot of y'all think Sanji being a simp. No. Sanji has an affection and a love for women based off of the women who have done right by him in his life. That don't mean my boy don't have an indomitable will. Let's look at how Sanji has filled the role of vice captain as split with Zoro. And for y'all Zoro fanboys, I know you're gonna hate co-parter. Let's look at the example of Mr. Prince in Alabasta. While Zoro, being the right-hand man of Luffy, stayed by his right hand, quite literally, he was by his side most of the time, Sanji took over the role of furthering his captain's mission. When he was the only one who wasn't captured by Crocodile and staging the distraction outside of Rain Base, let's look again at Water 7. After Nico Robin got kidnapped, after Robin went with CP9, Sanji was the one who was tailing Robin and CP9 the entire time because he already came to the conclusion that my captain would never sit by and wait for this. So after they found Robin, because Zoro was also by Luffy's right hand and had been similarly incapacitated, who was it who was furthering the captain's mission? Oh, that's right, Sanji. And let's look back at Dressrosa. Who was it that Luffy trusted to take the crew as he stayed on the island to fight Dolphy? Oh, I'm sorry. Let me reiterate that. Who was it that Luffy trusted to run a subdivision of the crew, take his ship in his absence, and fight Big Mom? Oh, right. That was also Sanji. Now, I know a lot of y'all are going to get the point conflated because y'all are going to find reasons to make excuses. All of that was to say, Sanji has split the vice captain role with Zoro, as he is often the one who remains focused on the mission when Zoro is there to function as the moral compass in terms of keeping the crew in line, making sure Luffy's on top of his game. Zoro is an idiot and can't follow plans half the time, just like Luffy. So if not for Sanji, the vice captain role would be sometimes lacking in performance because of the fact that they split the efficiency of the vice captain position. Now let's talk about indomitable wills. Sanji has demonstrated the will to go up against and fight conquerors. First off, he went toe-to-toe with Doflamingo by himself, knowing potentially the superiority or the combat superiority of Doflamingo. Similar to how Luffy fights people who are supposed to be more powerful than him. Like Zoro fights people who are supposed to be more powerful than him. Like most conquerors go up against people more powerful than them and then does not succumb to the power difference. It doesn't defeat him, it doesn't deplete him, or crack his will. So we've seen examples of Sanji going up against conquerors and demonstrating indomitable will. Now, there is one thing that I would like to, again, point out from learning from the manga, anime, the story of One Piece in general, is that conquerors often have an indisputable belief in themselves and what they choose to do that they cannot fail. That is quite literally contradictory to how Sanji was raised. Sanji's whole character arc has historically always been that he dealt with inner turmoil and his emotional sensitivity and awareness. And then after we got the Germa 66 backstory and realized that Sanji was raised from childhood to know and be told that he was less than, he was instilled with the fact that he was incapable, that he had a completely different upbringing from a lot of the other conquerors we look at. Like, let's look at the other two on his crew. Zoro and Luffy did not grow up with people who were holding them back, telling them that they were incapable. Zoro's sensei gave him Kuina's sword because he believed in him. Luffy had Ace and Sabo telling him that they believed in his dreams, even though they were kind of insane. They said that they were childish dreams, and they still believed in him. Ace's whole arc after dying was always about him believing in his little brother. So they were raised in worlds where, despite the fact that people came against them, they weren't raised with the idea of doubting themselves. Sanji was. So, on top of the fact that his character arc and backstory were based on him learning and growing to believe in himself, let go of his history, let go of his doubt, let go of his upbringing, overcome that, now we see him standing on his own too, on 2 feet. No pun intended. Let's look at his moments of indomitable will when Sanji stood up against impossible odds and did not quit. On Skypiea, when he faced Enel and thanked that motherfucker for a light. When he went up against Doflamingo, another known Conqueror's Haki user. When he pursued Robin by himself against the entire CP9 train, Dolo. Or even when he faced the Stockholm Syndrome bastards themselves who would beat on him as a child, he stood on his morals and his 10 toes and said, this is not food we're going to waste. You're not going to beat a woman. He went up against the very people who beat on him and raised him with the mindset that he was less than. That's not an indomitable will? Look, you're right. I do want Sanji to have Conqueror's Haki. Not so bad, but because we already know it's coming. I'd honestly just rather be at the point where we get that so we can move on with the story. And again, for all you copers, if you doubt this, you're likely just a Zoro fan and or ignoring the narrative. Because if Zoro and Sanji are compared to Rayleigh and Scopper Gaban, like Luffy is following the footsteps of Roger, and we see that Scopper Gaban, the Mountain Eater, went up with Gear 5 and King of Hell Zoro for even just a moment. What the hell do you think Sanji's gonna awaken? Please, be so for real.